Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and today we are going to be doing a Game Week 8 wildcard video because obviously Game Week 7 isn't happening anymore. We can start planning for Game Week 8. Those of you guys who have already played your wildcard in Game Week 7, your wildcard will now roll over so you can still make unlimited transfers all the way up until the Game Week 8 deadline. And if you haven't played your wildcard yet, well, you can play it now. Again, the wildcard will roll from Game Week 7 into Game Week 8. So get those transfers moving. We're going to be showing you a really nice draft for your wildcard in today's video. If you do enjoy this one, please do leave a like and please do subscribe as well. If you're new around here, all support is massively appreciated. Alright guys, so today our Game Week 8 wildcard has a team value of exactly 100 million. So guys, I think that deserves a like for me getting it bang on 100 million team value. Of course, I'll make some suggestions throughout the video if you need to upgrade some players or downgrade some players depending on your own budget. But yeah, I think this is a really good template. So let's start off in goal. We're going to start off with Nick Pope. Obviously, Newcastle have been reasonably solid in defence, mostly because of Nick Pope. So he's actually saving a lot at the moment. We know he's a fantastic goalkeeper. And he's picking up some decent points because of that, because of his saves, because of his clean sheets, and because of getting some bonus points as well. We've got some really phenomenal fixtures for Newcastle now. Bournemouth and Fulham, two promoted teams up next, followed by Brentford at home as well. So some nice fixtures for Newcastle that we really do like indeed. So yeah, I like Pope at the moment. I think he's going to keep making saves. The good thing about Newcastle right now is that they are conceding a lot of shots, but they're kind of conceding shots from poor quality chances. You know, they're kind of other teams are being forced to shoot from distance, which is really good from an FPL point of view because, you know, whether you save a shot from 40 yards out or one from 5 yards out, you get the same amount of save points either way. So it's really good in that respect, and Pope is going to continue, hopefully, to pick up a lot of FPL points. We've got Cancelo up next. I think we can probably still say that we want to keep Cancelo, even though he hasn't really scored massively more than some of the other Man City defenders. He hasn't kind of performed as necessarily amazingly, or he's not taken as many shots, he's not creating quite as much. He's had 2 assists in the Champions League. Did look pretty good though, so that did convince me to make sure Cancelo is in. I do think you still need to make sure you have got at least some Man City cover in defence. Man City are still the best defence in the Premier League, so you want to be picking on those clean sheets, but I wouldn't totally blame you if you wanted to downgrade Cancelo to maybe a Ruben Dias. So that's an option too. If you want to save some money, you want to move things about a little bit, Cancelo down to Ruben Dias could work, but if you really want to chase those really big mega hauls, Cancelo we know is capable of them. Dias, you're probably more expecting kind of 6 or 7 points a week most of the time. Most of the time, just going to be 6 points a week, isn't it? Which is still good, to be fair. And next up, we've got Trippier. So we're actually doubling up on the Newcastle defence. And we have got some other defensive options in this team. So you can switch things about depending on the game week. For example, that Manchester United game in a 4-game week's time. Maybe you want to bench Trippier for that game or sell him for that game. That's absolutely fine. There are some other options in this team. But yeah, certainly these next 2 games, Bournemouth and Fulham, we hope that Trippier, on a few set pieces, kind of getting up the pitch, he has been creating a little bit more over the last couple of game weeks. He started off the season, although he scored that free kick, he wasn't really creating too much from open play, but he does seem to be improving on that stat. Newcastle do seem to be improving as well as the season goes on. They're playing very well at the moment. So yeah, I think overall, that could be a pretty good player to go for, Trippier. I'm sure most of you guys are probably going to agree. Trippier is just a good pick right now. And I wouldn't worry too much about the fact that you are doubling up with Pope and Trippier. I would still go for both of them. I think if you look at the 2 players on an individual basis, each of them individually, then individually, they're great picks, right? So why worry about it? At the end of the day, we're here to score FPL points, right? And if you think a player's going to score FPL points, who cares if you happen to have another player from the same team, right? And next up, we've got Dalot. So I really like Dalot at 4.5 million. Really good bargain. Manchester United have actually been a little bit better recently in terms of clean sheets. They've been actually keeping a couple of clean sheets. I think they've only conceded a couple of goals since that Brentford game. You know, they've not really been conceding too much. So obviously some improvement has been made there. I'm talking in the Premier League, of course. So hopefully that's going to continue for you Manchester United fans. And we've got some fairly decent fixtures coming up as well. Leeds at home. We've got that Everton game in game week 10. We've got that Newcastle game in game week 11. That could be pretty nice as well. So yeah, overall, I think for the price that Dalot is, I think he could be a really good bargain for you. If you can get a couple of clean sheets out of him. We know he's fairly attacking as well. Takes a few shots on, creates a decent amount as well. he could actually make a kind of a mockery of that price tag, and that's kind of what we're looking for in FPL. Find those players who are kind of cheap and can provide a very decent amount of bang for their buck. But yeah, Dalot is going to be one of these rotation players because there's one player on the bench that will potentially rotate with Dalot on and off the pitch, in my opinion. So going into midfield, so we only got a 3-man defence, so we're going to go into midfield now with Sterling. Now, Sterling is probably one of the more interesting picks, maybe one of the more rogue picks in this team that I'm not 100% sure if you guys are going to agree with or not. But Chelsea fans, I'm sure you guys will agree that if there's been a standout player for Chelsea, particularly in attack so far this season, probably going to be Sterling, right? He's actually looking really, really good right now. On penalties, very dangerous player. He's been a kind of a star of the show and a disappointing season so far. But hopefully things are going to improve under Graham Potter. There's a little bit of time for Graham Potter to now work with the team. Obviously, there's no game this weekend, so game week 8 now. A little bit of time for Sterling to work with Potter. A fantastic coach, by the way, who is used to playing a similar system, a similar formation to the one that Chelsea already employ. So I think that's going to be more of the good stuff from Sterling. Now, there are some very good fixtures coming up, but I do want to point out this Liverpool fixture because I know a few of you guys will probably instinctively be saying, I'm not sure I want to play Sterling for this game against Liverpool. And on paper, that kind of does make sense. But when we look at the matchup with Sterling versus Trent Alexander-Arnold, who we know has been kind of not quite himself, there has been some defensive fragilities consistently showing themselves on that right-hand side of the Liverpool defence. You think of Sterling, that matchup there, and you feel like even a game against Liverpool, it's a home game. Liverpool are in poor form defensively in general. Maybe that's an area to target, and Sterling could actually do really well against Liverpool, despite the fact that on paper it's a difficult fixture. I still think he could do pretty well there. Next up, we've got Martinelli, who hasn't got the best fixtures in the world, but I think Martinelli's form and his value for money is just too good to ignore. He's just been playing so well recently, and I don't think we can take him out of our teams just yet. I think we have to keep him in, really. I know most of you guys are going to have Martinelli anyway. I'm sure you're looking for some fresh new ideas, some fresh new players, but Martinelli is not put a foot wrong so far this season, to be fair. He's made a mockery of that price tag. Like I say, that's the kind of player we're looking for, right? And a lot of you guys will have bought him for a cheaper price than 6.5 million as well. So if you sell him now and you want to buy him back later, you are going to lose a little bit of value on him when you try and buy him back later. So I would just keep him, even in these more difficult fixtures. Again, we can say Martinelli up against Trent in that Liverpool game. Brentford seem to concede a goal, at least one goal every single game. They don't really keep clean sheets at the moment. They are playing 4 at the back at the moment now, aren't they? Spurs game is going to be heated, maybe some goals in that one. And that Leeds game is pretty good. So overall, you look at these and you think of Martinelli, the value, the cheap price he is. I think he's still going to get a decent amount of points for your 6.5 million, which is not a lot of money to be spending on an FPL asset. We could get some points out of it, which is good. Martinelli is a 7.5 million player, really. You can get him for 6.5 million, so it doesn't really matter who he's playing, right? Rashford up next. So, yeah, big popular player right now. Leeds up next. They obviously considered a lot of goals in game week 6. Man City up after that. Then Everton, Newcastle. So it's mixed fixtures. But I know a lot of you guys are very keen on Rashford, particularly, he's been playing as a striker. He's been playing very well off the left wing as well whenever a different striker has been substituted on. And 6.5 million, again, really, really cheap price for what you get. So this game against Leeds in particular, I think is really nice. Man City game, you could potentially look to rotate him, potentially with some of your bench options, or transfer him out after that. It's kind of up to you. But certainly for this game against Leeds, I think he's a decent player to go for. He's certainly not the worst player to go for. Minor concerns with Rashford are that when Martial is back, or maybe even with Ronaldo, that Rashford and Sancho may share minutes on the left-hand side, with Anthony kind of sticking it out on the right-hand side. So that is just one thing to consider, that maybe Rashford does have his minutes reduced at some point. Manchester United fans, let me know what you think about that. I think Rashford in this team is probably optional, but I put him in because I know for a fact that if I did not put Rashford in this team, I can definitely see why you would put him in. He would not be absolutely nailed for me personally, but I can understand why people would want him in. But he is incredibly popular right now, and don't want too many pitchforks in the comments today. But yeah, still a very good pick. But I think this is one of those players in this team that you can afford to maybe switch about to someone else if you're not really feeling Rashford. And I've got another kind of a bit of a rogue pick here as well, and that's Alan Saint-Maximin, who not a lot of people have spoken about. I think the reason because of that is because of his hamstring injury. So obviously right now he has that triangle with the exclamation mark in next to his name in FPL. You know the one, the yellow triangle of death, the Dorito of death, if you will. He's got that next to his name, so people are kind of ignoring him. But Saint-Maximin, before his injury, was playing very, very well. We know what the fixtures are next. Bournemouth and Fulham, two of the worst defences in the league. Saint-Maximin, obviously a very advanced, creative, tricky kind of player who can explode on individual game weeks sometimes. You get the feeling that maybe 6.4 million might be a decent price to go in on this real nice punt. Maybe for a couple of game weeks, maybe even keep him for longer depending on how he performs. But I think this is a really interesting one that I know some people are not going to like, but I really like it as a bit of a differential in this team. Trying just to do something a little bit different because he is the lowest owned player in the starting 11 of this team. So yeah, maybe a way of getting some kind of advantage. And I have to say, you can see already there's 3 Newcastle players, which was not planned. It's just I just picked the players that I think will score the most points. That means that we're not going to have Isak in this team. And I know a lot of you guys are going to want to have Isak, the Newcastle striker, the new Newcastle striker in your team. But this team, I couldn't fit him in. There's just 3 forwards. It's actually 4 forwards I prefer to Isak at the moment. So I couldn't fit him in. I still want to get involved in that Newcastle attack. Saint-Maximin, to me, seems like the best way of doing that, aside from Isak maybe. But going up front, like I say, we have got 3 forwards because apparently it's all about the forwards again. Last season, we hated forwards. Now the forwards are back in town. Let's start off with the obvious one, right, guys? Erling Haaland had to be done. Like, he has to go into this team. There's no way of making an FPL team right now. You know, we're not stupid. We know that we have to have Haaland. If you're wildcarding, you have unlimited transfers. You have no excuse anymore to not have Haaland in your team. It just has to be done. Same with me. You know, I might be I probably am wildcarding for Game Week 8. I'm 90% sure I'm wildcarding. Going to have Haaland in that team. There's no doubt about it. He's in. He's in. He's just shooing. So, yeah, fantastic player. You can pretty much captain him every single game week. Not every single game week, but most game weeks you can captain him. In fact, all game weeks you can captain him. Some game weeks, maybe you choose someone else. But, yeah, I think it's good. The Wolves fixture, I don't think it's an amazing fixture. The Manchester United home game, I think that would be pretty spicy. Southampton game, really nice as well. Definitely want to be captaining him against Southampton. But it's Man City. They can destroy anyone. They're playing very attacking football right now and absolutely dominating. So yeah, no doubt about that one. Let's just move on to some other players. And we've got Harry Kane. So Harry Kane is our second premium. So yeah, we've got no Liverpool players in this team, by the way. I don't know if you guys have spotted that, but I think you can afford to remove some Liverpool players just while they're in this poor form, and they have got really tricky fixtures from Game Week 8 onwards, Liverpool, at least 4 game weeks, maybe even 5 game weeks. After that, you probably want to have a route to get some Liverpool players back into your team when their fixtures get a little bit better after this tough run. But for the next 4 maybe, I think you can afford to just not have Liverpool players for a bit. I think it's okay. So yeah, we've got Kane instead of Salah, really. I mean, that's what you would probably say. This is a Kane rather than Salah. And obviously, we've taken out a lot of the premium defenders in this team as well. So yeah, Kane. Home against Leicester. Phenomenal fixture. It is Kane's best fixture, actually. Kane has such a ridiculous record against Leicester. And this is when Leicester were good as well. Now Leicester are kind of one of the worst defences in kind of top tier world football. You know, you really fancy Kane to do very well in this game. It's already a game he absolutely thrives in. Even the game after that, Arsenal, another fixture he absolutely thrives in. After that, Brighton, we're not really sure what kind of Brighton we're going to get post Potter. And then Everton at home, pretty nice fixture as well. So actually, I like the look of this run of fixtures for Kane. And I think if it wasn't for Haaland, we would be looking at Kane and saying, yeah, he's having a really decent start to the season. He's performed very well so far this season, which I believe he has. I think it's never really... I don't think it really is a question of Kane versus Haaland. I think it's a question of Salah versus Kane. I think that's the question you really need to be asking yourself. Do you want Salah or do you want Kane? Or do you want Bruno Fernandes or do you want Kane? Do you want Kevin De Bruyne or do you want Kane? I think that's the questions we need to be asking. And I've kind of landed on Kane. I really like him. I'll tell you a little bit more why in a bit. And finally, up front, we've got Mitrovic. So yeah, you kind of have an option here to maybe go for Tony instead if you do prefer Tony. I personally prefer Mitrovic. I think that his underlying stats are just so phenomenal. He's taking so many shots in such dangerous areas. We know he's on penalties. He's playing not Nottingham Forest, who concede so many goals, who are pretty weak defensively. And this is a situation where Mitrovic, unlike Tony, Mitrovic has played some really difficult teams so far this season. He has not had a good run of fixtures so far. So now his fixtures have improved. He's already proven that he's a top quality goal scorer. Is he going to get even more opportunities to score goals? Surely he is, right? In these slightly easier fixtures, he's going to have even more opportunities and get even more FPL points, and he's going to do so well, surely. So I can't really imagine a team personally without Mitrovic. I think the other option is to maybe have Mitrovic and Tony, and then maybe, you know, obviously downgrade Kane, maybe go for someone slightly different in midfield, maybe going for a De Bruyne. You could go, like some people have kind of suggested, maybe going for a Bruno Fernandes as a one-week punt against Leeds United. That's an option as well. You obviously got Sterling there that could be switched about to some different premium midfielders if you wanted to do that. So that is an option as well. But for me, Mitrovic is an absolute must-have. I can't, you know, he's like second only to Haaland, really, to me in the priority order, and that's because statistically, underlying stats, and the eye test, whatever you want to, whatever metric you want to use in life, he's just for me been the second best player so far this season in the Premier League. He really has. So let's go into the bench, guys. We've got Iverson, 3.9 million goalkeeper. You could have Ward here, but I kind of get the impression, you know, Iverson is slightly cheaper than Ward, and Iverson may even take the #1 spot from a Ward, given Ward's not so great form recently. There is that possibility. And then you've got a 3.9 million playing goalkeeper. But look, you're gonna play Nick Pope every game week anyway, so it doesn't really matter. 3.9 million goalkeeper is fine. I've got Reece James in there. So ordinarily, I think you would play Reece James. I think you would certainly play Reece James after the Liverpool game, against Crystal Palace, against Wolves, against Aston Villa. Hopefully, we're going to see a little bit, you know, more, you know, a better Reece James, the old Reece James, particularly under the management of Graham Potter, who has been typically a manager who's got the best out of his team defensively and creating a lot of chances as well, playing good football. And Reece James is going to be all about that, playing on that right wing, pretty much a right wing, right, but guys, but. Yeah, really that right wing-back position. So Reece James, I think, is a good player to go in on, a good player to invest in, but I'm not sure I'd play him against in the Liverpool game. I think there's a good chance Liverpool do score in that game. But, you know, even that, you know, you could potentially play Reece James ahead of some of these other players on the pitch if you wanted to. We've got Andreas as well, who is just the best 4.5 million midfielder of all time. Most of you guys got him at 4.5 million, so he is to you, even, you know, if you're wildcarding and you already had Andreas, he is to you a 4.5 million midfielder, really, isn't he? He's not really a 4.6 million midfielder because, you know, you can't sell him for 4.6, and you can keep him at 4.5 essentially. So I definitely would be keeping him. He's just too good. He's just too good, like, to be a 4.5 million midfielder. Like, it's insane. You know, you absolutely must keep him. And a little bit of a rogue one on the bench here. I've got Emerson at West Ham. So West Ham do have some really nice fixtures coming up, and Emerson's only 4 million. He's kind of a left back for West Ham at the moment, and he's been getting a decent amount of game time recently. I think he could find himself to be the nailed on 4 million left back at West Ham. I don't know, West Ham fans, let me know what you think. But yeah, certainly, you know, you could either go for him, Nico Williams, who's maybe competing with Serge Aurier and his 4.1 million. You've got Patterson, who may get rotated with Coleman potentially, and his 4.1 million. So for a third bench option, I thought, okay, let's see if we can go for a 4 million instead. And Emerson, it looks like by far and wide that the best 4 million option. Maybe not 4.1 million, but the best 4 million option. But again, it's up to you if you want to upgrade that position. But third on your bench, if you've got Reece James and Andreas, or, you know, Dalot, if you're benching Dalot and you're playing Reece James, you'll have Dalot and Andreas. You're probably not going to really rely on your third bench option too much, are you? So kind of begs the question, is it worth spending that much money on it? But there we go, guys. That is the team. I'm gonna, for the sake of the video, for the sake of the vid, we're gonna slap a captain's armband on Harry Kane, just because I just feel like he is just, this is just a Harry Kane fixture all over. This has got Harry Kane Hall written all over it. I know a lot of you guys are going to probably want to captain Erling Haaland. If you want to do that, completely understand. I don't know if Wolves is a super easy fixture. I think Kane certainly has the better fixture, but you can make an argument that Haaland is the better player, so therefore he's probably going to score more points, right? That's pretty logical, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, Harry Kane for me is probably going to be the slightly better captain for me. Erling Haaland vice-captain, of course. But yeah, those are probably your two options going into this game week, unless you want to go really rogue. But yeah, that's kind of what I like. There we go, guys. That is my wildcard team. I'm probably going to be wildcarding my team. My wildcard team for myself is probably going to look a lot like this. I really, really do love this team right now, guys. So yeah, maybe this is going to help you a little bit, I guess. If you did enjoy this video, please do leave a like. Helps out the channel so much. I cannot understate that. If you really enjoyed the video, maybe subscribe as well. And if you have any questions about the postponement of the league or anything like that, I will try my best to answer those questions. But I did also upload a video / stream earlier where we spoke about all of the implications of the Premier League being cancelled for Game Week 7 and what that means for you, what that means for your chips, what that means for your hits, what that means for your transfers so far. And we go into detail on all that stuff. So do go check that out if you want the full rundown on that. Shout out to Fantasy Football Hub, who are supporting the channel once again this month with all of their great stuff. You know, all of the stats I speak about, the underlying stats, they're all provided by Fantasy Football Hub. So definitely go check them out and get your team rated as well, which is a pretty good tool that they've got going on. And that's pretty much it from me today. We are going to still have as much content as physically possible over the next week, even with all the uncertainty. We're going to do our best to at least provide something for you guys to watch. And hopefully you guys enjoy that. So yeah, that's pretty much it from me today. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy your weekends, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.